Subparlobster here, and today we're talking about probably one of the biggest events to happen in movie history ever, and that's Star Wars: The Force Awakens. J.J. Abrams' first first movie in his new upcoming trilogy, kind of the start of the Star Wars universe, so to speak, or the new Disney Star Wars universe. So, I'm gonna break down kind of what I thought about it, and kind of my thoughts on where the trilogy is going, and from there, take a look, see what you think. Let me know in the comments. So. Ultimately, I love this movie. I think this is arguably one of the best Star Wars movies, if not the best, so far. And I want to get to that because I think ultimately this is not going to end up one of the best after it's all said and done. But what this movie does so well is it creates really interesting characters and kind of sets out what the blueprint is for the rest of this trilogy and kind of where the universe is heading. So the biggest strength this movie has is its writing and its characterization. I mean, Kylo, Rey, and Flynn all are very complex, very interesting characters. Kylo, in particular, he's not that stereotypical faceless villain that Vader was in A New Hope. He's given quite a bit more characterization. Now, don't get me wrong, Vader, by the end of that trilogy, did get a lot of characterization, but it took 3 movies to really flesh him out. And I think Abrams does that and goes far beyond that in just one movie. Kylo Ren is arguably a really good villain. I mean, he's almost a Sith Lord. He's not quite there yet, from what I understand, but he doesn't have full control over his powers and his emotions. He's kind of he's on the dark side, but he's still struggling with what it really means to be fully involved in the dark side. And I think that's something that the Star Wars movies haven't really captured. Sure, the expanded universe stuff does that pretty well, and there's some expanded universe novels and such that I think do that just as well. Possibly are some of the best Star Wars fiction, but in just the sense of the movies, we haven't seen that before. We're given kind of these characters who are interesting and much deeper than anything we've seen before. Sure, some of the side characters don't get as much attention as we want them to in this film, but I mean, every character does their job admirably. The acting is great, their dialogue is great, and I think most importantly, they feel like humans. And a big problem I have with A New Hope, not so much Empire, but especially in New Hope. I mean, A New Hope is archetypes. We're not seeing people. We're seeing the hero, the villain, the sidekick, so to speak. And I think this movie kind of sheds that. It kind of does what it took Empire to do. Is it gives us memorable characters to really attach to and really to glob onto. I think the biggest complaint people are going to have with this movie, it is beat by beat A New Hope. It feels very similar, and I think that's on purpose. I mean, this movie has to start off in familiar territory. It has to start off at home, so to speak. Every journey has to start off in comfort, and that's what this does. I mean, A Force Awakens, its role is to remind everyone what a good Star Wars movie is, and to bring them back to what they loved about the original trilogy. And to do that, they have to make it look and sound and feel like an original Star Wars movie. So they do. I mean, ultimately, it follows the same kind of points as, or beats, you'd say, as A New Hope. But it does so with much more interesting, well-developed characters, and it sets kind of seeds and plot points in motion that I think the next couple movies are going to pick up that are much different and set this movie aside from A New Hope. It's not A New Hope. It's going to feel like A New Hope, but there's a lot more going on here that we never got in A New Hope. I think a big part of that is really how really examines what it means good versus evil. In the New Hope, and so kind of the Star Wars trilogy, old Star Wars trilogy in general, as well as the prequels, the good people are the good, the bad people are the bad. As I mentioned earlier, Vader is that faceless villain in the first movie, or in New Hope, and I mean that's very indicative of rather what those movies are. They are a classic battle of good versus evil, which is great. They're amazing movies. They're film classics. They're some of my all-time favorites. But Abrams is doing something different with these. He's kind of setting it up as this Force. I mean, they're bad, but I mean, there's a reason for them being bad, and you get a glimpse of that. I mean, they're following what they believe the Empire to be, based upon one guy spinning it, giving it a slant to make people follow him. It's using fear and intimidation. They make Vader as this idol, even though they don't really know what Vader did. And I think that's a very interesting point. The Force Awakens definitely deals more with the villains, rather than the rebels, but it does so, I think, well. It really gives us an idea of who they are and who they're going to be. Kylo Ren is definitely not done, and he's definitely not going to end the same way as Vader. I mean, I think this guy has a lot of places to go, and really, I mean, Rey is my personal favorite character of the entire story. I mean, the good characters, they're not just, you know, zeros to heroes, so to speak. They are, struggling with it. They have kind of complex issues. They have to deal with what does it mean to be a hero. I have fear, but I have to act brave, and I have to go beyond myself and kind of act, forget my own fears, and that's very much. I mean, in this movie, the dark side is filled with fears, and using fear as kind of an intimidation tool. And these characters have to learn to forego that and learn to be almost selfless in a way. And I think that's cool. I mean, that struggle of what it means to be a hero, what it means to be a villain, is very much at the core of this movie, and that's something New Hope never did. And so, yeah, it might feel like a New Hope. It might structurally be a New Hope, but it is not a New Hope. This is the start of a brand new Star Wars universe that is going in a completely different direction. And I think ultimately this will probably be the weakest of the three movies, but we really won't be able to tell until the other movies come out. Now, if episodes 8 and 9 come out and they are just like episodes 5 and 6, then yeah, suddenly this whole opinion changes and it becomes, yeah, they're just a cash in on the old trilogy. But I don't think that's going to happen, just given off kind of where this movie leaves off. I think it's going a lot of interesting places. And now that they have you, now that they've caught you with the nostalgia, they've reminded you what's awesome about Star Wars and kind of rock back that familiar feeling, they can go, I mean, sorry for the pun, but they can go to the stars. I mean, they can do whatever, they can do a lot of really interesting, complex things here. And I think that's where they're going. I mean, this movie ends with Rey kind of seeking out Luke and kind of this very biblical imagery. And I don't know, it just ends so much differently. It doesn't wrap up, it doesn't tie up like A New Hope did. It's the start of something much greater. And to me, that's what The Force Awakens is. It's at its core, it's reminding you what you loved about Star Wars so that it can then grow that and show you what Star Wars can really be. And for that, I mean, I'm super thrilled with this movie. I think as time goes on, this will definitely be the one that depreciates, much like Batman Begins is the Nolan Batman movie that is by far probably the weakest of the three. But by the end of it, I think we're going to see a really great trilogy, and I think it wouldn't have been possible had it not been for how this movie's structured. Had this movie been trying to be off the wall groundbreaking, it wouldn't have worked. It needed that familiar structure to tie itself back to the original trilogy. Because story wise, we're setting up for a very different story. But if we had just, I mean, if this movie had just been completely its own thing, it wouldn't have really captured that familiar feeling that the old trilogy had. So structurally and how the movie looks and sounds and feels, it is very similar to what Star Wars used to be. But story-wise, character-wise, and writing-wise, it separates itself. And I think that's most important in movies, is that they separate themselves with the story, with the characters, with the themes of it. And so I'm okay with it being a carbon copy because it shows that they really understand what's going on with this. And I mean, ultimately, it's going to work out in their favor. I mean, we're going to get a movie that is going to do awesome in the box office and show Disney this is a universe worth expanding on, so that we can have all these other movies that go places that this movie could never be. If this movie tried to go all out and be its own thing, it wouldn't have the same impact, and it wouldn't be able to start the universe that it needs to. So I'm okay with it. Time will tell, obviously, if I'm right about this, but I mean that's just my opinion of it. And for that, I enjoyed it because ultimately, even if you're frustrated by the fact that it's beat by beat the same movie, it still is its own characters, its own themes, and it's going its own places. And I think ultimately it has that characterization, it has that soul that we haven't seen in a Star Wars movie yet. Of course, Empire still takes the cake for my favorite movie, but in many ways, Empire Strikes Back did what this movie did. It gave the characters depth, it gave the story meaning. And this is doing it on the first go, which means it can only go up from here. So that's my opinion on the movie. Obviously, you guys are going to have your own opinions. Let me know in the comments. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Do you hate it for being very similar? Did you want it to be its own thing? Let me know. Also, over on the same channel, over on PunchButton, Chief's going to be doing his own review of the movie. He has something a little different to say than me, and so he has some really good valid points. And I think in many ways it could go either direction. Ultimately, one of us. I don't know. I mean, I don't think either of us are right or wrong. I mean, the movie's good. The movie's great. We both agree on that. And so go check his out and see what you think. And so where do you stand? Do you think this is the start of something really amazing and really memorable? Or are we disappointed overall by the movie? Drop us a comment, subscribe, go follow us on Twitter, go find us on Facebook, do whatever you need to do, and share your friends. Ultimately, our opinions in these videos are only as good as the people they reach. So you guys are awesome, and keep being awesome. Keep watching. yeah, we'll see you later. Go check out more of our Star Wars content.
Hey guys, Chief Ash here telling you if you like what you saw, let us know. Drop a comment down below. Drop a suggestion so we know what to make later. Like, subscribe, message us suggestions or just that you appreciated what we put up or whatever you want. We'll read it. Thank you and keep watching.